All right. Today we're going to crack open a kind of survival guide for modern leadership, and it's drawn from a surprisingly ancient source. We're going to map out a clear path for finding strength, especially when you feel, completely lost at work.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Do you ever feel like you're just navigating a wilderness at work? Overwhelmed, isolated, just trying to survive the next quarter, the next project, the next big challenge? Yeah, if any of that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, so let's dig into this idea, this professional wilderness. I mean, it's a metaphor, of course, but man, does it feel real for so many leaders out there. It's that state of mind, right? Where the path forward is super foggy and the challenges, they just feel relentless.
So what does this wilderness actually look like day to day? Well, we're talking about that intense pressure to perform, right? Budgets and resources that always seem to be shrinking. Competition that's coming at you from every single angle. And maybe the toughest one, that deep sense of professional isolation, even when you're surrounded by people. That's the terrain we're navigating.
So, to find our way, we're going to do something kind of interesting. We're going to look back, way back, thousands of years, to a blueprint from an ancient leader. Specifically, we're talking about King David, a leader who found himself in a literal wilderness, completely stripped of his power, his comfort, his security, everything.
And when you look at it, the parallels are pretty striking. I mean, think about it. You might be facing tough market competition. He was facing enemies who literally wanted him dead. You're dealing with budget constraints? He was in a physical desert with no water. You fear a loss of status? He was stripped of his entire kingdom. The stakes were definitely different, but that core feeling of being lost in the wilderness, that is absolutely timeless.
So the big question is, how on earth did he survive that? And this brings us to the very first pillar of his survival guide. It's all about finding a source of satisfaction that goes way, way beyond your immediate resources.
So check this out. In the middle of an actual desert, probably dying of thirst, David writes this. He says his thirst for a deeper connection, for purpose, is even greater than his physical thirst for water. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. In a place that's defined by what it lacks, his greatest longing wasn't for what was missing, but for this internal source of meaning.
And this is where we get our first big principle for survival. In your own professional wilderness, the ultimate solution isn't always a bigger budget or more headcount. No, the real game changer is tapping into a deeper source of strength and purpose that keeps you fueled up when all those external resources run dry.
Okay, let's build on that and move to the second pillar. This is about finding a source of joy that's, available 24/7 and completely independent of your circumstances.
Now, this verse is a pretty radical statement of values. David is essentially saying that his connection to his core purpose is more valuable than life itself, more important than just surviving or having professional success. See, when your why is bigger than your position, your joy becomes pretty much unshakable.
You can really see the sharp contrast here. On one hand, you have fragile joy. That's the stuff based on your latest performance review, on getting approval from others. It's a total roller coaster, up and down with your circumstances. But then there's resilient joy, and that's based on your core purpose and your principles. It stays stable, even in a crisis, because it's not tied to what other people think.
Okay, so how do you actually cultivate this resilient joy? David's example suggests this kind of three-step cycle. First, you recall. Remember past moments of help and success. Second, you act. You actively cling to your core principles, especially when it's hard. And third, you trust in a strength that's beyond just your own. He writes about remembering past victories, and that's what gave him the confidence to hold on tightly in the present moment. And all of this leads us to our final and honestly transformative pillar. It's about a kind of confidence that doesn't need to crush others to feel secure. It's a confidence that creates and reconciles.
Pay close attention to where David places his confidence at the end. He doesn't say, I'm going to rejoice because I'm a great warrior. Nope. He says, the king will rejoice in his source. His identity and his sense of victory are found in that deeper wellspring of purpose, not in his own ability to defeat his enemies.
So here's the modern leadership application. A leader whose identity is secure in their purpose doesn't see competitors as threats that need to be eliminated. They can engage in healthy competition, they can even bring reconciliation, because their self-worth isn't on the line with every single win or loss. They find their joy in their purpose, not in standing over a defeated rival.
So, when we put it all together, what's the ultimate takeaway from this ancient survival guide? What's the true north for any leader trying to navigate the wilderness?
It really comes down to this. The most powerful and sustainable fuel for leadership isn't power, or resources, or the approval of others. It's an unquenchable thirst for a deep, internal wellspring of purpose. And when that thirst is satisfied, a leader can thrive in any environment.
And so I'll just leave you with this question to reflect on. As you navigate your own professional wilderness, with all its pressures and its demands, what are you truly thirsty for? Is it the next promotion, a bigger budget, or is it something deeper? The answer to that could change everything.